Now comes the fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm. Cinderella, make yourself comfortable. Once upon a time there was a rich man whose wife became very ill. When she felt that her end was near, she called her only daughter to her bed and said, "Dear child, stay pious and good. I will always stand by you and want to be around you." Then she closed her eyes and died. After some time the man took another woman. She had brought into the house 2 daughters who were beautiful of face but nasty and wicked of heart. Then a bad time began for the poor child. The stepsisters took his beautiful clothes from him, put him on an old gray smock and gave him wooden shoes. It had to do heavy work from morning to evening. In the evening, when it was tired of working, it couldn't get into bed, but had to lie down in the ashes next to the hearth. And because it always looked dusty and dirty, they called it Cinderella. Despite the hard work and viciousness of her stepsisters, the girl always remembered her mother's last words. It so happened, however, that the king held a festival to which all the beautiful virgins in the country were invited so that his son might choose a bride. The 2 stepsisters, when they heard that they should also appear there, called Cinderella and said, "Comb our hair, brush our shoes and cut our finest clothes. We're going to the king's feast." After working day and night, Cinderella's clothes for her stepsisters were finally ready. Luckily she still had a bit of time and so she was able to quickly make a dress for herself. The girl thought she could now go to the festival. When the evil stepsisters saw the beautiful Cinderella, they were full of envy. They tore his dress and said, "None of it helps you. You won't come with me, because you have no more clothes and can't dance." Then they turned their backs on her and hurried away. When no one was home, Cinderella began to cry, but suddenly the fairy godmother appeared. "Please don't cry, my child," said the fairy godmother. "I'll help you go to the party." "But I have no dress and no shoes," said Cinderella sadly. The fairy godmother waved her magic wand and suddenly a beautiful silver dress and slippers made of crystal fell. Then the good fairy found 6 little mice and a pumpkin in the cellar. She waved her wand again and the pumpkin became a magnificent carriage. The little gray mice turned into 4 white horses and 2 handsome coachmen. Everything was ready for the party. Cinderella got into the carriage and said goodbye to the fairy godmother. She told her, "My child, the spell only lasts until midnight. You must be home by then." When Cinderella entered the ballroom, she looked so beautiful in the silver dress that her sisters and stepmother did not recognize her. They thought it must be a foreign king's daughter. The king's son came towards her, took her hand and danced with her. He didn't want to dance with anyone else either, so he wouldn't let go of her hand, and when someone else came to ask her, he would say, "That's my dancer." They danced until just before midnight. Then Cinderella remembered the words the fairy godmother said to the prince, "I must go home now," and left the ballroom. As Cinderella hurried to the carriage, one of the crystal slippers slipped off her foot and landed on the stairs. But the girl didn't have time to get him and ran away. Cinderella got home just as midnight fell. Her silver dress and silk slippers disappeared, and the carriage, along with the horses and the drivers, turned back into a pumpkin and 6 little mice. When the stepmother and the sisters came home, they talked about the pretty girl with whom the prince danced all evening. The handsome prince fell in love with Cinderella at first sight, but he didn't even know her name. Then he saw the little crystal slipper on the stairs and thought, "No other shall become my wife than the one on whose foot this silver shoe fits." The prince and his servants went to every house in the kingdom. Every girl had to try on the crystal slipper, but the shoe didn't fit anyone. The stepsisters also tried on the crystal slipper, but it didn't fit their big feet, although the evil sisters tried to squeeze the feet in. The prince asked in desperation, "Don't you have another daughter?" "No," said the stepmother, "just the dirty little maid there. That can't possibly be her dancer." The king's son said she should send it up, but the mother replied, "Oh no, that's much too dirty, it shouldn't be seen." But he really wanted it, so Cinderella came downstairs. She sat down, pulled her foot out of the heavy clog, and put it in the slipper, which fitted like a glove. And when she straightened up and the prince looked into her face, he recognized the beautiful girl who had danced with him and cried, "This is the right bride." The stepmother and the 2 sisters were startled and turned pale with anger, but he took Cinderella on his horse and rode away with her. Finally the prince found his love. The 2 married and lived happily ever after. Thanks for listening. A thumbs up and a subscription would be appreciated. Many exciting stories and fairy tales will follow.